Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 1 of my new podcast. I normally make short form videos. However, this one's going to be long form. I'm going to start doing long form. I think it's much better. You can get into much more detail, explain things to you guys a lot better. I don't have to worry about the 3-second hook. I don't have to worry about TikTok brain and everyone scrolling every 2 seconds. So I'm very excited about this podcast and I'm really looking forward. We're starting off with a banger. Episode 1, we're talking about the ceasefire proposal by Trump and Iran. We're also going to get into Ben Roberts and his charges. For those that don't know, Ben Roberts is an Australian, probably the most decorated Australian soldier that was arrested yesterday on multiple murder charges and war crime charges. So we're going to be jumping into that as well. So without further ado, let's get into the first topic. Trump announces 2-week ceasefire as Iran agrees to open up Hormuz Strait. United States President Trump has agreed to suspend his planned bombing of Iran for 2 weeks following his threat that a whole civilization will die tonight. I saw that Truth Social post just before I was about to go to bed. I was going to cover it, but I thought, no, I'll cover it in the morning. I then woke up and found out that he agreed to a ceasefire. So quickly, here's the post right here. A whole civilization will die tonight. That was said by the President of America. The leader of the free world openly threatened genocide. Never to be brought back again. I don't want this to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime control, change, we're different, smarter, blah, 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 blah. And it starts rambling on. So threatening genocide. I go to sleep, think I'll cover it when I wake up. I go to sleep, I wake up. Trump announces a 2-week ceasefire. I have to laugh about it because if I treat this seriously, it'll make my brain explode. Anyway, what's happened? Trump and Iran, with Pakistan being the mediator, has agreed to a 2-week ceasefire. I heard rumblings of this a few days ago. Suleiman was talking about it, but I wasn't sure how true it was. I know Suleiman, he's someone who I trust a lot, and he spoke about the Islamabad Accords, so perhaps that's what they're calling it. Anyway, let's get into what the terms of this is. Iran win and Trump surrenders to all demands. America commit to non-aggression. Standard, it's a ceasefire, obviously. Control of the Strait of Hormuz by Iran. So I believe Abbas Araghchi, the foreign minister for Iran, spoke about ships being escorted by Iranian naval ships through the Strait of Hormuz. So I guess that's good for me in Australia, so our fuel prices can go down. Iran can enrich uranium. Well, they're already enriching uranium. For those that you don't know, that Ali Khamenei, the previous supreme leader that was assassinated on the very first day of this war, he issued a fatwa against nuclear weapons. Now that he's taken out, there could be a possibility where Iran decides to continue to enrich and actually create nuclear weapons. And apparently in Iran, I don't know if this is true, but I've heard that apparently in Iran, 80% of all of the people want nuclear weapons as a deterrent. If you look at North Korea, they have nuclear weapons and no one F's with them. Anyway, let's get into this. Lifting all primary and secondary sanctions. This, out of everything in the list of demands, is the most important. These sanctions have been placed on Iran for decades, and they're finally getting lifted. These sanctions kill people. These sanctions cripple economies. I don't know how Iran's managed to survive this long under the crippling sanctions that they've got. I want you guys to understand. Imagine every single thing in your life that you buy, people place a heavy tax on yourself. Well, actually, I live in Australia. I don't have to imagine it. But imagine, again, they place a heavy tax. And then if you do deals not only with that country, but you do it with other countries, they place in heavier tax on them as well. So all of this is lifted, and Iran is, if I want to know if this is going to be for 2 weeks or this is going to be forever. I hope it's forever, but knowing the orangutan, I don't trust a single word out of his mouth. Stopping all Security Council and Board of Governance resolutions. So I assume that's talking about, wanting regime change, wanting to destroy the country, stopping all the foreign aggressors, etc. Paying compensations to Iran. I don't, this is speculation. I don't know if this is true or not. Apparently up to $1 trillion is what Iran is asking for in compensation, which, if you ask me, still isn't enough for the literal decades of sanctions, crippling sanctions designed to destroy them. If anything, it probably just made Iran stronger. Withdraw American combat forces from the region, that's just a given. Well, they got no more bases, so they're going to have to withdraw anyway. Stop the war on all fronts, including Hezbollah in Lebanon. So I saw initially that it was only going to be between Iran and America. Now that they've negotiated, I believe the Lebanese resistance and Israel are also going to negotiate a ceasefire. Apparently, Israel is furious at this, which makes sense because they started this, and this war is on behalf of them. America is their proxy. We talk about Iran and all their proxies. Why don't we talk about Israel and their proxies? Like, I don't know, America, England, Australia, like a bunch of Western nations. Why don't we talk about their proxies in the region? Anyway, I'm going to just go through Trump's tweet quickly, if I can find it. Based on conversations with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir of Pakistan, and wherein they requested that I hold off the destruction of forces being sent to Iran, blah, 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 blah. The reason for them doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives, just more complete and utter delusion by the orangutan, and very far along with a definitive agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. This is the part that's the most important. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. What does that mean? It means these are Iran's terms, not America's terms. Trump has capitulated to Iran. Iran grabbed them by the neck, squeezed them enough by holding the Strait of Hormuz, and now Trump is bowing down and agreeing to their terms. This is a win for Iran, and this is a major loss for America and the orangutan. Almost all the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran, blah, 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 but a 2-week period will allow the agreement to be finalized and consummated on behalf of the United States of America and President, and also representing the countries that blah, 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 blah. It is an honor to long-term problem. Thank you for your attention. So, goes from threatening genocide to agreeing to a ceasefire in the time it took me to have to go to bed for the night. So, as mentioned earlier, this is also going to affect the Lebanese resistance and Israel in their region. So here's all the loonies from Fox News, the Murdoch mouthpiece, America's Sky News, basically. Let's have a listen.
Back in Tel Aviv, where he has the latest. And Trey, we understand you have brand new reporting from the White House. What can you tell us?
Yeah, guys, good morning. I just spoke with President Trump for 15 minutes. He gave me some new details on the negotiations behind the scenes with the Iranians and what's going to happen if Iran does not make a good faith deal. The president tells me if they don't make a deal and fast, I'm considering blowing everything up and taking over the oil.
So basically, threatening war crimes if you don't get your way. This has been said a million times by a million different people, and everyone's talking about it. He needs to be impeached. They need to invoke the 25th Amendment, blah, 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 blah. Everyone's spoken about this, but I'm going to speak about it again. This toddler needs to be removed yesterday. He's in control of the most powerful military the world's ever seen, and he's openly, on a daily basis, threatening war crimes, threatening genocide if he doesn't get his way. This isn't a real estate deal in New York. This is the American military, the most powerful military of all time. Why is this orangutan allowed to sit there and just continue this disgusting bile coming out of his mouth?
It went on to say you're going to see bridges and power plants dropping all over their country. Now, I asked him about the possibility
threatening to blow up civilian infrastructure.
Iranians, he says, those who are negotiating on behalf of Iran have been granted amnesty at this time so they can continue the talks. And the president tells me he thinks he'll be able to get a deal by tomorrow.
So I assume this was yesterday, or it was 2 days ago. So anyway, that's the brilliant insight you'll get from Fox News. Okay, so we've heard from the Americans and their measured and not at all ridiculous take on this war. So by contrast, let's see what Abagas Aragachi, the FM for Iran, has to say. So this is a statement he made today, I believe. On behalf of the Islamic Republic of Iran, I express gratitude and appreciation for my dear brother. He, Prime Minister of Pakistan, Sharif, and He Field Marshal Munna for their tireless effort to end the war in the region. In response to the brotherly request of PM Sharif in his tweet, and considering requests by the US for negotiation based on a 15-point proposal, as well as announcement by POTUS about acceptance of general framework of Iran's 10-point proposal as a basis for negotiation. I hereby declare on behalf of Iran's Supreme National Council, if attacks against Iran are halted and powerful armed forces will cease their defensive operations for a period of 2 weeks, safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz will be possible via coordination by Iran's armed forces and with due consideration of technical limitations. So there we go. The very diplomatic, measured, intelligence, well-balanced way that someone should respond in a place like this, as opposed to the orangutan, the supposed leader of the free world, talking about how he's just going to openly commit genocide and blow up civilians and civilian infrastructure. So, as I said, the Strait of Hormuz will be open. It will be coordinated. It will be escorted with Iranian ships. There's been speculation. There's been talk about a $2 million tollway basically set up in the Strait of Hormuz. I have a feeling Iran's probably going to do that. I hope that they do that. They deserve, some money back for the absolute hell that they've gone through. So hopefully Iran is able to set that up. Okay, now on to the second topic. We're going to be talking about Ben Roberts-Smith, the former Australian SAS soldier, the Australian Army's pin-up boy, was arrested on multiple murder charges and multiple war crime charges when serving in Afghanistan from 2009 to 2012. So we're going to get into that. So he's Victoria Cross recipient. For those of you outside of Australia, Victoria Cross is the highest level that you can get in Australia and England and many Commonwealth nations. It's basically like our version of the Medal of Freedom. I think that's the highest medal in America. Anyway, Victoria Cross recipient Ben Roberts-Smith charged with war crimes taken into custody. Former soldier and Victoria Cross recipient Ben Roberts-Smith was arrested and charged, blah, 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 blah. 47-year-old is charged with 5 counts of war crimes of murder. So For those of you that don't know what happened when he was in Afghanistan, he had some Afghani national detainees, and the alleged crime is that he himself murdered 2 of them and ordered the murdering of 3 others. So he's up for 5 charges of murder, basically. One of Australia's most decorated soldiers has been charged with 5 counts of war crime of murder. Victoria recipient was arrested at Sydney Airport Domestic Terminal yesterday on Tuesday afternoon with counts of war crime. He was taken to prison, Silverwater Prison, where he will remain in custody and due to appear in Bail Division Court on Wednesday. So that's today. So he might be out on bail today. Who knows? The former Special Forces soldier arrested after mammoth defamation trial against blah, 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 blah. So this defamation trial, I want you to understand, the AFP didn't go after him. He actually brought this on himself. Listen to this by 7 News. Ready?
Serious. We believe there's multiple counts of murder, of war crimes. This is a long way to play out.
The interesting thing here is, Nick, that it was Ben Roberts-Smith himself who launched that original defamation action, and following that, it was the federal judge in the civil case, Justice Basanko, who said he murdered 4 unarmed Afghan. He also said that Roberts-Smith had disgraced his country.
So he brought this on himself. The hubris and the narcissism and the psychopathic nature. He had a defamation case against 9 News, I believe, and it was found in that case that the High Court judge found him to be guilty of 4 counts of murder in a civil defamation case. So he brought this on himself. If he didn't start this defamation case, this never would have been brought on him. So all of these like right-wing idiots like Pauline Hanson, well, I spoke about her yesterday. We'd have to get into that clown's take. Drew Pavlavi, the little like fat Greek kid who thinks he's the greatest journalist of all time because a Trump staff shared his tweet one time. He actually said in an X post, Drew Pavlavi, that he does not care what Ben Roberts did. So he admits he doesn't care about war crimes. And people are like, oh Drew, I'm going to listen to what you... Drew's so smart. And RBMNE, of course, he leapt to his defense. I mean, one ex-IDF soldier. So an IDF soldier that commits war crimes is defending an ADF soldier that commits war crimes. Isn't that just lovely? I forget the name of this guy. He runs a podcast. I think he's an ex-soldier himself, and he just runs his mouth like an idiot, basically. Just listen to this. Just grandstanding and carrying on like a moron.
Okay, so Ben Roberts-Smith just got arrested for alleged war crimes, and here's my thoughts. The government doesn't get to send Australia's best, most courageous men within our society to go fight in a foreign conflict and then judge us when we get home for what happened over there.
So first of all, he signed up for the army. No one forced him. He wasn't enlisted. He trained. He became an SAS soldier. Then the government deployed him to Afghanistan because we're Americans' proxy. And if they want to go and kill people in third world countries, we jump at the chance because we're a cocked out. Anyway, that's a different conversation. Notice how he morally grandstands and talks about, oh, we're sending our brave soldiers overseas to fight and blah, blah. We don't get to judge what happens over there. Actually, we do. If you kill unarmed people that are in your custody in cold blood, actually we do. Well, not we. The government, the law system gets to judge you.
The government doesn't get to send us into a war zone where the enemy blend in with the general population. And
yeah, doofus. These people, you notice how they don't get into the details of how they were killed. They're trying to paint this image that I don't know what they're trying. They're trying to pretend that these people just attacked him for no reason, and he didn't know if they were civilians or if they were Taliban. No, these people were in his custody. They were unarmed. Who knows? They were probably like bound, unable to even fight back. And he murdered them in cold blood. That's what happened.
Go unseen. You don't get to send us into a war zone where they use IEDs and women and children as human shield.
That's completely irrelevant.
You don't get to send us into a war zone where they strap 13 kilos worth of explosives to 14-year-old boys.
This wasn't a 14-year-old boy with explosives strapped to him. These were Afghan nationals in his custody. Notice how he doesn't talk about how they were killed. He says, you don't get to judge us for what happened over there. Yes, we do. We absolutely 100% do.
And blow them sky fucking high. That happened on my trip.
We're not talking about your trip. Fucking idiot.
You don't get to send us into a war zone on the 29th of August where they get Taliban soldiers to infiltrate the Afghan National Army, which partnered with the Australian Defence Force over there, then turn around and shoot my mates. Killed 3 in one night. You don't...
Bro, you're in their country. If you don't want to get shot in their country, don't go to their country.
Don't get to send us into that type of war zone and then judge us for what happened over there.
Yes, we do.
When we get home. And guess who was the first respondent on the 29th of August? That's right. Ben Robert Smith and his team were the first one to fly in and make the scene safe. You don't get the right to spend $300 million.
So he's talking about where Ben Roberts, I think on the 29th of August, I have to look into this a bit more, but he apparently took on 2 Taliban groups, I believe, and I have to look more into it. I'll look more into it. I'll make a video on it. Well, anyway, it's completely irrelevant. We're talking about how we murdered unarmed detainees. We're not talking about combat. You don't get arrested for killing people in combat, you moron. They also spread this lie that the AFP spent $300 million over 10 years. Show me the evidence for that. That's just a complete lie pushed by Pauline Hanson. There's no evidence to support that claim.
Over the past decade to send the AFP into Afghanistan to go on a witch hunt. You know, the AFP and our government have paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to Afghan nationals over in Afghanistan to write witness statements against Ben Robert Smith.
Yeah, I didn't find any evidence for that. I find it funny that you'll sit there and talk about all these Afghan nationals. Why don't you talk about, oh, what's this? 21 SAS soldiers to testify against Ben Robert Smith in defamation trial. Interesting. This is dated all the way back in 2021. 21 current and former soldiers from Australia's most elite military regiment will make unprecedented court appearances in the defence case of the newspaper being sued by veteran Ben Roberts. During the first week, so this is back, so I mentioned earlier how he tried to sue some, I thought it was Channel 9, it turns out it's a newspaper. Oh, it is 9. Yeah, he tried to sue, it looks like the Sydney Morning Herald, he tried to sue all these newspapers because they published the fact that he's like a warmonger and he's the victim apparently because they called him out on being a war criminal and it backfired in his face, like, because he's a moron. So there's 21 SAS soldiers testifying against him. Why don't you go and carry on with your moral aggrandizing towards them? Clown. Let's watch the rest of it.
Did you know that? Do you know that's where your tax...
Did you know 21 SAS soldiers came out and testified against him? Did you know that there's no evidence that they apparently paid all these Afghan nationals all this money, just like there's no evidence that they spent $300 million?
Taxpayer dollars are going? Do you
know like taxpayer dollars also went to murdering people on the other side of the planet?
not think that an Afghan national over there who was poor as hell would take the money and just write whatever they want, write whatever they're told to? And you know the one thing with all this Australia-hating culture has allowed to fester over the past decade.
So you hear this kind of rhetoric from all these Western countries. We supposedly hate our country because they did bad things and we call them out on it. No, it's not Australian hating culture. It is people holding a war criminal to account. If anything, that makes me love Australian culture because it shows that we're willing to arrest even our most decorated war veterans. We're willing to hold people accountable. That makes me love Australian culture. It doesn't make me hate Australian culture.
You can't tell me that this isn't all coordinated with the attack on young men in our society, telling them they're useless.
So I'm confused because this has been going on for a while. I believe this started. He's going to try and make a Labor versus Liberal case. He's got to try and make it like a right versus left, women versus men. This has nothing to do with left wing, identity politics, man hating. It's completely unrelated.
Pumping our kids full of hormones and destroying the
Nothing to do with this
next
case.
generation. Trying to tell us that the land we're on is stolen.
Well, technically it is, but that's unrelated to this.
And now going after our military, going after the toughest, most courageous alpha males within our society.
Tough, courageous alpha males don't murder unarmed nationals.
This is the Australia hating culture that everyone is talking about. Let me tell.
No one is, apart from the loonies on the right, no one is see, this is these right-wing idiots. Their brains are mush, basically, and they have an inability to understand nuance and to compartmentalize issues. So everything they don't like is just there's just this big, mesh of ideas slamming together, and everything's coordinated and connected, and anyway, I can go on forever. Basically, the whole point is if you don't like something, they try and slap all this crap on top that's completely irrelevant as what's the word I'm looking for? Like a dismissive tactic to try and dismiss whatever you're saying.
Oh, you're right now. If you want to sit there and judge us, if you want to sit there and say we should have done X, Y, and Z, go fucking spend a day fighting in a war.
21 SAS soldiers to testify against Ben Roberts-Smith. Awkward.
Go fucking spend a day fighting against an enemy which uses women and children as human shields. Go fucking fight a day in a war where they get 13-year-old boys and strap 15 kilos worth of explosives to them, blow that little fucker sky high. Go fight a day in that. What's your...
All right, let's take this idea and say it from the other side. Go fight a war where the opposition spent $3 trillion trying to overthrow your country. Go fight a war where they have the most advanced military specs on the face of the planet, and all you have is an AK-47. Go fight in a war where a man that looks nothing like you, sounds nothing like you, has come to your country and told you how to think and what to do. Go fight in a war where 1 million people in your country were killed. Go do that. Huh? Fucking idiot. So this is the AFP giving a press conference on Ben Roberts-Smith. And they actually lay out in detail, unlike these fucking idiots on the right who just run their mouth. It doesn't matter what he did. You go fight in the war. Like, these are the heads of AFP, federal police, ones that have been investigating this for a long time. They actually know what's going on, unlike these fucking retards on the right.
Smith has today been arrested and charged. 5 counts of murder through a joint investigation between.
You don't get to judge what he did. He killed innocent people. You don't get to judge what he did because he's a soldier.
The former soldier was arrested at Sydney's domestic airport this morning and is expected to face a New South Wales court later today. It will be alleged the man was a member of the ADF when he was involved in the death of Afghan nationals between 2009 and 2012. in circumstances that constitute crimes, Commonwealth criminal.
There we go. Circumstances which constitute a war crime under the Commonwealth Criminal Act. Allegedly. Cut and dry.
Carries a maximum penalty of life imprisonment. It will be alleged the victims were not taking part in hostilities at the time of their alleged murder.
Were not taking part in hostilities at the time of their alleged murder. Allegedly.
Victims were detained.
They were unarmed and under control of the ADF members. So this crap about they strapped the 13-year-old with explosives and they were unarmed. And they were in custody. It's like, okay, I get arrested for whatever reason, and then the police just shoot me, and then the police members go, "You don't know what it's like to be a police officer. We have to deal with this all day long. A crackhead attacked me with a fucking metal glass the other day. It's with a fucking glass the other day. It's completely fucking idiots. Oh my, they're fucking retarded."
Alleged the victims were shot by the accused or shot by subordinate members of the ADF in the presence of and acting on the orders of the accused. Operation Emerald Argon began in 2020.
So he just said that other idiot who was rambling on just said that they spent $300 million in 10 years, but this investigation's been going for 5 years. So he can't even get the most basic of details correct.
Has been undertaken thoroughly and meticulously. We understand these charges will have an impact on several communities in Australia. Whenever I give a press conference, I do not just provide the facts in front of me, but I also address those impacted the most. So I want to now directly address the concerns and questions that some may have. The alleged conduct related to these charges is confined to a very small section of our trusted and respected ADF, which helps keep this country safe.
Exactly. So they're basically just calling into line the most extreme case. Like, it doesn't get more extreme than just outright murder. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to try and make at least maybe 4 or 5 of these a week. I actually prefer to do this over short form content. Please like, subscribe, share. The more you like and subscribe and share this, the quicker I can do this as a full-time job and start making money off of it. And I can get you guys the most up-to-date, important information about politics and about geopolitics all around the world, crap that really affects your day-to-day living. I haven't made a cent off this yet. Inshallah, I'll start making money off this. If you like and subscribe, please subscribe and share with everyone. All right, bye.